Hi, I'm Chef Raphael. Welcome to today's video. Today we are baking and I'm going to show you how to make a delicious Christmas fruit cake. Watch till the end and see how I've put it all together, including the decoration, putting the fondant, and I hope you learned something today. Let's get started and you see how simple it is to make it this festive season. So welcome to the show, and if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing to the channel and hit the bell button, because that way you get notified whenever I have a new recipe out. Now this channel is all about making you a better home cook or home baker. Today's recipe, I'll start with the cake mix. This is Caroline's cake mix, and a little bit of background. What Caroline has actually been doing for a while is she's a baker, she makes cakes and even does sell the stuff in the supermarket, so ready-made fondant and all that. But now she has a new range of cake mix, and this is what you're using today. And this particular one is actually gluten-free. The reason why I love this range of products is because they have that. I have lots of people who always ask me, do we have gluten-free recipes? Now this one is something you can try. Now for the ingredients, all you need is the cake mix, and at the back of the pack, it actually tells you what else you need. In this case, it says 105 grams of butter or margarine or vegetable oil, some water and eggs. You can always do just one recipe, which is just follow exactly the ingredients here and use the whole pack. In this case, I'm doing 1.5. So the measurements that I have are for 1.5 of the cake mix. So the thing whenever you're baking with a premix is just follow whatever the instructions are. Like I said, I'm doing 1.5 of the recipe, which makes this water to be about 322 grams or 322 ml. It's important you actually weigh the ingredients. Instead of 4.5 eggs, I'm using 5. And then for the margarine, we need 105 grams. So this is actually about 152 grams of the margarine. If you're using oil, just measure the amount for the same grams and the mixture will be the same. The good thing about it, it's actually resealable. So what I've just done is I've actually torn the top part where there is a mark. At some point you want to reseal it. So this has the ziplock feature so that you can actually reseal it and use it another time. This is a spice cake, and I can smell the spices. I can smell cardamom, there's cinnamon. I don't know what other spices she has put. It's not indicated in the ingredients in terms of specific, but it smells delicious. And most importantly, it's gluten-free, and it's because it's actually made with cassava flour. Since you're making a fruit cake, I have the mixed fruits, cherries, orange peels, and raisins. So mixture of raisins. The amount is actually dependent on you. You can use as much as you think is enough for the cake mix. So the first thing we need to do is soften the butter or margarine. If you're using oil, it will not be as it will be easier. And then to this, I'll add the eggs. So the other way you can get half an egg, the half can be from removing the yolk or the egg white. So you do not have to have an electric mixer. So if you're using a whisk, just try and break it like that. Now ordinarily, whenever you're doing a normal cake, you mix the eggs, the margarine with the sugar. Since the sugar is already in the mix, the first thing you need to do is blend the eggs and the margarine. Mix it like that. At least now the margarine or butter, if that's what you're using, is broken down. And then to this you'll add the water. Mix it. And then finally I'll add the cake mix. Now when I was trying out these cake mixes, I I actually found out that the gluten-free cake is actually really it's the same as the other cake, normal flour. So even if you're not gluten intolerant, you can still use this cake mix and get the same results. It may be slightly different, but it's not something that was noticeable in a way that it will be so different. So give it a try. And of course, anyone who is gluten intolerant, this is perfect. Half the pack, this one is 435 grams, so half of that is what I need. So whenever you're measuring something in a weighing scale, especially, just make sure that it's on 0, and then this, you can always use it next time. So that's the good thing about having the Ziploc feature. So you can choose to sift the flour, but the way I'm seeing it, you actually don't need to sift it, but you can choose to sift it as you're adding it to the cake. The mixture should be thick, so this is a good consistency. So long as you make sure that there are no lumps of flour and everything, mixture is ready. And then for the fruits, all I need to do is add an amount that is, that I feel is comfortable for me in terms of quantity. And then what I usually like doing for the cherries, I usually like cutting them into smaller pieces. So fruits are cut. Now the amount of fruits is actually dependent on, like I said, the amount of mixture you have. If the fruits don't sink, they're still suspended on top of the cake, that means the mixture is thick enough to hold the fruits. This is perfect, spicy and fruity, and just mix everything into the batter, cake batter. On the pack itself, it actually says which baking tin you need to use. Now here it says for this one mix, it makes 2 22-centimeter bread tins or 1 10-inch round pan. Now the one I have here, it's a deep one, and I actually want a thick cake or a deep cake, and it's about 10 inches wide. I'm using actually a foil paper inside, but you can actually use a parchment paper. But foil paper can still work if you don't have a grease-proof of parchment paper. Now, because this is actually 1.5 times the recipe, it's slightly more. This cake will actually bake for take about an hour to bake. Again, on the pack, it actually even tells you the approximate time on how long it will take. So when the cake is ready, you'll actually smell the cake flavor in the kitchen, and when you dip a small knife inside or a toothpick, it comes out clean. That's how you tell it's cooked. So the cake has baked. It actually took about an hour to bake, and the other thing I want to mention is that the cake has a mount. It's risen in the center and it has a crack. There's nothing wrong whenever a cake cracks. In fact, in this case, because we want to decorate the cake, we'll just slice off the top. I'm cutting the cake while rotating it, but I'm not going completely inside the cake. What I've just done is made a slight cut on the outside and then get in. You can try and make it as flat as possible. I tend not to waste a lot. I feel whatever the edges here, they can still be left like that. And then it's a good idea to flip the cake, especially when you're using fondant, because this side has a nice form. And in fact, when you put the fondant on top, it will even cover the edges here that has a hole. So that's good. So now when it comes to the fondant, one thing about fondant is when it's sealed, it's still good, especially this one when you buy it from, this is something you can buy from the supermarket. You can also get it from their website. So a good sign that a fondant is actually good is that it needs to be soft. And I love the texture of this. This is something I've actually used before. So because I want something round that will cover the cake, you start with a ball like that. That it's better if you dust the surface with corn flour like that, so that it doesn't stick. Now I can already tell this fondant is the right consistency, so it won't stick easily. But in case it starts sticking like it is right now on my rolling pin, just dust a little bit. So the idea now is to try and roll it into a round shape that will cover the cake, and also try and make it as big as possible so that it will fit the cake. When I come back to my cake, it has a hole here, it has some holes, so this can easily be seen when I put the fondant on top. And to avoid that, so what you can do is either use buttercream, fill the holes so that when I put the fondant on top, it will be nice and smooth. So the next thing is now to place the fondant. Just place it at the center to make sure the cake is fully covered. You'd rather have it be excess, but that is good. What I want to do now is to make another flat fondant that will cover the base of the board, so that this one will come on top and the whole board will be white, so that when I put the decorations, they will have a nice contrast. We want to have different decorations on the cake. Remember, the range from Caroline's fondant is that it has all this different stuff. Now, all these things are actually edible because they're actually made from fondant, but it's not something I would recommend that you actually go and bite into it. So what you should usually do to make it stick is apply a small amount of water. So for example, like this one, place it here and press it so it gets to stick. So basically, when it comes to the design, it's up to you. Just on what you prefer. Maybe then try and get different colors and try and mix and match nicely, something like that. There you have it. I hope you have learned something new. Remember, today we are talking about the cake mix from Caroline's collection. We have the cake mix, we have the fondant decorations, we have the fondant itself. It's Christmas season. Hope you get to try yours. And I hope you've learned something today. I'm Chef Raphael, signing out. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And also check out the Caroline cake decorations and cake mix on the website and also on their Facebook page. And until next time, goodbye.